The ballroom glowed with golden light, laughter spilling from every corner as champagne glasses clinked and violins played soft in the distance. In the middle of it all, she stood alone in a pale blue dress, too simple for the glittering crowd, her hands clasped around a glass of water. She didn't drink, her eyes fixed on the dance floor where her ex twirled his new bride under a chandelier that sparkled like 1,000 small knives. She shouldn't have come, she told herself over and over. But curiosity had been cruel. She had wanted to prove she was fine, that the past didn't sting anymore, but standing there watching him smile, that same smile he used to give her, she realized she wasn't fine at all. A few guests whispered near. "The table, is that her, the ex? He left her last year for the one he married now, right, poor thing?" The words slid through her like ice. She turned away, trying to swallow the ache rising in her throat. The lights blurred her vision. She blinked hard, determined not to cry. Not here, not in front of them. Then a voice beside her, calm, steady but unfamiliar, broke through the noise. "You look like someone who forgot she deserves to be seen." She turned, startled. A man stood there, tall, dark suit sleeves, rolled just enough to look undone. His smile was kind, not pitying, his hand extended toward her. "Dance with me." She blinked, unsure if she'd heard right. "No, people will stare." He shrugged. "Let them. Maybe they'll remember what grace looks like." Something in his voice softened the knot in her chest. Before she could think, she took his hand. The crowd parted as the stranger led her to the floor. His hand found her waist, gentle, steady, guiding her into the rhythm of the music. The whispers stopped, replaced by stunned silence as her ex froze, watching the woman he'd broken begin to shine again under the chandelier's light. The music flowed around them like a dream. The rhythm slow, soft, her heartbeat loud enough to drown it out. The stranger's hand was steady but light, guiding her with a confidence that made her forget the crowd. He smiled down at her and said quietly, "You're trembling." She let out a small breath. "I wasn't planning on dancing tonight." He smiled a little wider. "That's the best kind of dance, the one you never plan." The guests watched, their heads turning, whispers starting again, but this time the tones were different. Curious, awed, her ex froze near the edge of the floor, his new bride's smile faltering as he watched. The woman he once ignored moving like she owned the room. Her chin lifted, her shoulders straightened, the pain in her eyes replaced with something calm and radiant. She dared a small laugh, whispering, "You really don't care that everyone's staring." He shook his head. "I didn't come here for them." Then why, she asked, her voice barely above the music. "Because you look like someone who needed reminding that her story didn't end with someone else's wedding." Her breath caught. The music slowed. The crowd disappeared. Her ex turned away, pretending not to watch, but his grip on his bride's hand tightened. The stranger leaned close, his voice low. "I don't know who he was to you, but I know what I see now. A woman worth dancing for." For the first time that night, she smiled a real smile, not to hide pain, but because she finally remembered what it felt like to be seen. Her laughter faded into quiet as the music shifted to a slower song. The stranger didn't let go, his touch steady, respectful, warm. Then from the edge of the floor a voice cut through the air, sharp and brittle enough. Her ex pushed through the crowd, his bride trailing behind, confusion on her face. He stopped a few feet away, glaring at the stranger. "What do you think you're doing?" He turned his eyes on her. "You shouldn't be here, especially not making a scene." She froze, her smile vanishing. The guests around them whispered again, the air thick with tension. The stranger straightened his back, his hand still resting gently. At her side, "I think she's doing just fine," he said calmly. "You just never noticed what fine looked like." Her ex's jaw tightened. "Who are you?" The stranger's eyes didn't waver. "Someone who knows what it's like to lose something precious and know it's your own fault." He looked directly at the ex. "So trust me when I say you should be grateful she even showed up tonight. Most people wouldn't." The room went still. The bride's face flushed, the ex's confidence crumbling under the weight of every stare around him. He opened his mouth, but no words came, only silence. The stranger turned to her again, his tone soft. "Let's finish this dance. Not to prove anything, just because you deserve to." When she nodded, the crowd began to murmur with Something new, not gossip this time, but quiet admiration. They danced again, and this time her head rested lightly on his shoulder, her heartbeat no longer trembling but steady. She had walked into the wedding invisible, but somehow she was leaving. Scene. The music drifted into its final notes, the lights dimming as the last chord trembled through the air. The stranger stepped back just enough for her to see him clearly, his smile soft, the kind that carried no motive, no pity, only quiet understanding. Around them, the guests clapped slowly, unsure if they were applauding the music or the courage that had unfolded before their eyes. Her ex stood frozen, his bride whispering something he didn't seem to hear. His gaze flicked to the woman he once took for granted, and for the first time she didn't look small anymore. She looked free. The stranger offered his hand one last time and helped her off the floor. As they reached the edge of the room, he said gently, "You don't owe anyone your silence. Not anymore." She smiled through tears, whispering, "I didn't even know I'd been quiet for so long." He nodded. "Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is stand tall where they expected you to crumble." Guests stepped aside to let her pass. She walked past her ex without a word, her head high, shoulders back. The chandelier light caught her face, and for the first time it wasn't sadness that shone there, it was peace. Outside the ballroom, the stranger handed her his jacket against the chill, so took it hesitating before asking softly, "Why did you do it? Why help me?" He smiled. "You reminded me of my sister. She once stood alone in a room full of people who forgot how to be kind. I couldn't let it happen again." Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't from pain. They were from relief. She looked up at the night sky, the city lights reflecting in her eyes, and said quietly, "Thank you for reminding me who I was before all this." He nodded. "Then don't forget again." She smiled and walked away into the night, her steps light, her heart whole again. If this story moved you, share it, so others never forget that one selfless act can rewrite a destiny in ways no one sees coming.